Bring in our very own Charles Davis, and let's start with what we saw on Monday Night Football. How do you say the Ravens stack up in the AFC right now? Because unlike the Bills, who are blowing everyone out, the Ravens, yes, they've got the same record as the Bills, but 4 out of the 5 games have been real nail-biters.
They stack up with anyone because the organization, the culture, which is one of the most overused words we have in sports, you know, Chris, but in this case, it's real. It sustains, all right? They've run through about every running back you could ever name. You, myself, Amanda, all of us could line up at running back, and we're going to get carries because that's what they do on offense. Lamar Jackson, of course, continues to elevate and has become a more accurate thrower. He missed a big one early in the game. He didn't miss many after that, did he? Other guys are starting to come along, and Mark Andrews remains his top target. But defensively, they are still the Ravens. They're going to come at you with a variety of blitzes. They draft a young man out of Penn State, Odafe Owe, and he has 0 sacks his last year at Penn State. He becomes a machine in making plays off the edge with Matthew Judon gone to New England. This team's toughness, culture, and the leadership of their head coach, John Harbaugh, they're going to make them a tough out. They don't look like a team that should be winning these games, Chris, but they find ways each and every week.
They got a tough one this Sunday on CBS. 4-1 Ravens, 4-1 Chargers. So we saw that the Bills are the favorites to win the AFC. They are the favorites to win the Super Bowl. But the Chiefs are still right behind them with the second best odds in the AFC. You're going to see them this week. They sit there at 2-3. They're banged up. They're limping into D.C. this weekend, a game you're calling on CBS.
Yeah, and your description is so accurate. In a sense, is what we thought about Baltimore earlier this year. So this gives Kansas City an opportunity to prove their bona fides in terms of their toughness, their grittiness, their finding a way. And I think they have the right culture to do that with Andy Reid and his crew. Look, Patrick Mahomes has not been the Patrick Mahomes he's wanted to be, but these are small tweaks for him to get better. Okay, he feels like he's getting more careless with the football because he had an interception each of the last 3 games. But we keep forgetting how many touchdown passes he's thrown along the way, too. Defensively, they've got to come up with something to slow some people down, to get some stops. Their defense built to play with a lead. They haven't had that kind of a lead lately. So the mystique of Kansas City, where they would roll into town and everyone would kind of crumble, I think that started to go away a little bit with the Super Bowl last year, and they've gotten challenged in every game they've played this year. Look, they beat Philadelphia by 12 when it was all said and done. But that game went into the 4th quarter, and there was an obvious talent gap between the two teams. So people want to challenge Kansas City. They will have to up their game to meet that, and I think they're more than capable of doing that.
Facing another struggling defense in the Washington football team. We're supposed to have one of the best units in the league. That has not been the case so far this season. 1 o'clock Eastern on CBS. We'll talk to you more about that throughout the week. You had a bunch of Raiders games already this season, Charles. Now they are in an unprecedented situation, middle of the season, when it seems like they're just starting to settle into Vegas and welcoming in their fans. Where does the franchise go from here?
It's a great question, and I think we're all eagerly watching to see what happens because with everything that happened this past week, when the story broke on Friday about Jon Gruden, I think it affected their team. You know, myself, Ian Eagle, Evan Washburn, we covered that game, and we felt it during the ball game. In Chicago, give them credit for going in and winning, but that wasn't the Raiders team we saw earlier this year. So now, with all that quote-unquote settled, even though it's not settled, they know they're under new direction. Rich Bisaccia is the absolute right person to be the interim head coach. Special teams coach, longtime assistant under Jon Gruden. He touches every part of that team. Absolutely the right guy for that. Greg Olsen, the offensive coordinator, he's been an offensive coordinator for 5 different NFL teams. He is more than capable of continuing to have that offense running. And, of course, Gus Bradley taking over the defense, a former head coach in the league. They've got the right people in place. Now that all that kind of gets cleared away, can they settle in and play some of the ball we saw earlier this year with better defense, and can they get their offense back on track? A lot going into it, but I think they have the right plan in place and the right people.
They were 3-0 once upon a time. Broncos were 3-0 once upon a time. Those two teams at 3-2 now face off this weekend, Sunday afternoon on CBS. All right, Charles, when we talk about the best teams in the NFL, right now it seems like we start with the Bucs, the Bills, maybe even throw the Cowboys in there. Cardinals are sitting there saying, hey, we're the only perfect team in the league. How have they managed to go 5-0 so far, and do they have staying power?
Well, I know that we always start with a quarterback, and I'm going to again because Kyler Murray continues to get better. All the physical gifts that we saw coming out of college, they're all still there and continuing to be honed to a fine edge. The mental side continues to jump up as all young quarterbacks learn as they go along. And now it's all coalescing. I mean, going into last week, he was a 76% thrower on the year. Not to mention the legs still get him out of trouble and create big plays for them. But he's spreading the ball around like crazy. The addition of Rondale Moore, the rookie out of Purdue. Christian Kirk has jumped his game up. Remember, he came out of Texas A&M as a high flyer. DeAndre Hopkins is still one of the top receivers in the league. A.J. Green's giving them play, having come over from Cincinnati. So that's happening. Defensive side of the ball, Chandler Jones continues to sack people. J.J. Watt provides leadership. Byron Murphy has become a ball hawk at corner. And Budda Baker's always around the football, an absolute ball magnet. And by the way, he'll hit you, just like the movie Rocky when Mickey said, he'll knock you into tomorrow, Rock. That's what he's like, Budda Baker as a safety. So I like this team. People think they feasted on a bad schedule early. But at one point, Chris, remember, people were saying the Los Angeles Rams might be the best team in football. Arizona went to Los Angeles and beat them. San Francisco was supposed to be a prime contender, and they might still be. They beat them last week. Now, they're going to play Cleveland coming up and a little bit tougher schedule. But this team believes, and I don't think we'll see a collapse like we had last year. This team's in it till the end.
They are underdogs, though, despite the fact that they are the only perfect team in the NFL, about a field goal dog on the road in Cleveland. Charles Davis with us here on CBS Sports HQ. Taking a look at the Week 6 slate on CBS, and it begins early. Dolphins, Jags, 9:30 Eastern time from London. Over under 45.5 in that game. You like those London games? Get your Sunday started early? No. I'm like Ted Lasso. Don't like the tea. We got the Chiefs and the Washington football team. Charles is going to be on the call for that one. Best matchup. Chargers 4-1. Ravens 4-1. Baltimore favored by a field goal. 3.5 in that game. That's a 1 Eastern game. And the late game, Cowboys, Patriots, Dallas favored by 4. Want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis. No yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.